Regardless of what I do next, there's something we cannot overlook. Seamus has the support of the Church of Light, and I do not.
Many within the Church are on our side, Duke Ivan. When the moment comes, they will be behind you.
I certainly hope so, Murizel, and I appreciate your efforts to rally them to our cause. But what of Elra? So far he has been silent. But maybe that's because he's fine with the idea of Seamus sitting on the throne. What can I hope to achieve if the dragons have already ordained our fates?
No fate but what hand makes.
The Orc Kente is right, my lord. The dragon's ways are mysterious, and it is often difficult to grasp the full extent of their actions. I was wondering what kind of advice I could offer you, my lord, but I seem to recall an elven tale that would fit the matter at hand.
Rowena of Unicorn speaks highly of you, Lysir. I would hear your story.
Are my ladies and lords all familiar with the people we call the Shalden?
The Sea Elves.
Indeed, our seaborn cousins who wander the oceans of Ashen. I want to tell you the story of a young Shalden. To outsiders he was known as Wisloth, or simply Wis. Wisloth was the eldest son of a famous captain and great hero, Osrath Ilrian. Now, Osrath Ilrian was getting old, and intended to retire. It was no secret he would appoint Wis as his successor. Nobody had asked Wisloth what he wanted. If they had, they would have known he had no interest in taking his father's place. What place did he crave for himself, you ask? Well, Wisloth had not figured that out yet. And it seems the dragons had grown bored of waiting for him to make a choice. As all sea elves, Wis was an expert sailor and a great swimmer. But Shalasa was so angry that night that even he was struggling not to drown. The last thing he saw, before losing consciousness, was his ship being swallowed by the storm. How many days did Wisloth drift with only hunger and thirst as companions? One day, he woke up lying on the sands of an unknown shore. Rather than cursing the dragons, he was grateful to be alive. Silana and Shalasa had shown mercy. Curious to see where fate had landed him, Wisloth set out to explore. The first creature Wisloth came across was a lone unicorn, grazing under the cool shadows of the trees. To Wisloth's surprise, the majestic animal offered to become his mount. Where there are tame unicorns, there are often elves.
You know, this story is starting to sound somewhat familiar. Are there white tigers next?
There will be no tigers in this story, Duke Ivan, but I can promise you some surprises. Next, Wistloth came across a herd of twilight stags, moving silently through the forest. Wistloth decided to follow the stags, as they seemed to beckon him along. The stags led Wistloth and his mount to a small clearing. Pixies and spirits were dancing around a standing stone, half covered in moss and plants. Though he was a sea elf, Wistloth knew enough about the customs of the elves living on land to recognize a dragon line stone, marking an underground river of dragon blood, the source of all magic. If there were other elves nearby, then he might well find them at the convergence of the dragon lines, where the power would be strongest. Traveling from stone to stone, Whisloth eventually reached a stone circle. This was what Whisloth had been looking for. A nexus of the dragon lines. As he approached the monument, Whisloth noticed a figure sitting next to the largest stone, meditating. The woman, dressed in the robes of a druid, was probably not older than him, despite her silvery hair. She observed Whisloth as he dismounted, piercing him with her amber eyes. There was a pride and defiance in her gaze, but Whisloth also sensed something else. A deep, familiar loneliness.
You are not of my people.
My name is Whisloth. I was on a ship. I fell overboard during the storm, and I followed the dragon lines here.
You are a Sheldon. We haven't seen your kind this far north for many, many moons.
I don't want to burden you with my plight. Is there a port nearby? I've been walking for days.
I believe Felista did most of the walking.
Felista? The unicorn?
If she likes you, I shall trust you. Follow me to my camp, Sheldon.
Thank you, my lady. Can you tell me where we are? Is this Irulan?
This is the Twilight Archipelago. You are farther from home than you imagine.
Lady Danan, who is this stranger?
Everything's fine, Silreal. Felista has found another castaway. This one seems to be a Sheldon.
Whisloth, at your service.
A sea elf, eh? Maybe Solana put you on our path to get us out of our predicament.
A shipwrecked sailor doesn't inspire much confidence.
Anyone can be thrown to the sea in a storm. What is your predicament?
We are castaways, Sheldon. Just like you.
We were on our way to Dragon Mist Island when our ship was caught in a maelstrom and crashed on the reefs north of here. We built new ships, but they were sunk. A tribe of Cyclops controls what comes and goes from the island, from the top of their cliffs.
Cyclops? They can be tricky. Are there not enough of you to oust them from their perch?
Short of climbing the cliff, which would be suicide, the only way to reach them would be for a few brave souls to sail through the maelstrom again and moor on the other side of the island.
I don't know if Providence or the dragons truly put me on this island, but neither Cyclops nor a maelstrom are going to keep me here.